Illustration rares are some of the best cards Pokemon has ever produced. And with that being said, it's inevitable that some of these cards are going to hold insane value. With most collectors paying attention to alternate arts and SIR cards, let's take a look at the top 10 illustration rares. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 illustration rare Pokemon cards that we currently have in the Scarlet and Violet era. But first, did you know 87% of you aren't subscribed? What are you doing? If you love Pokemon cards, if you love Pokemon investing content, collecting content, hit that subscribe button. I post once or twice a week, every single week. So coming in at number 10 on our list is the Ghastly from Temporal Forces. I'm sure we've all seen this card. It saw incredible movement that first week or two of release, bumping from $16 to $30, but quickly diminishing back to $15 in value. This was one of those cards everyone was like, buy it up, sell it, it's worth more. Very, very short-lived kind of boom, but it has been trickling up. Currently, it is sustaining at about $23, so that puts it in the top 10. You know, Temporal Forces doesn't have too many amazing illustration rare cards, but this is one that I think will continue to see growth. I think it'll hit that $30 again. I just don't think it'll be now. But if you pay attention to the patterns that we're going to see in later cards in this video, I think Ghastly has contention to grow and be worth a lot more one day. Now, there's no doubt that 151 is going to represent a few spots on this list. We're already getting there with number 9 being the Charmeleon. I'm actually a little bit surprised this one made the top 10. Typically, that second evolution doesn't really get as much love, but that's not the case here with Charmeleon sitting just shy of $24. As we all know, that starter trio follows a story through the evolution line with the IRs and SIR cards in this set. Charmeleon has stayed pretty consistent since that first month of release. It came out the gate pretty low at $12, but as we saw that pull rates were getting harder in 151 as compared to sets like Paldea Evolved, a lot of these cards just had to go up. And as of now, about 8 months after release, it's sitting at its all-time high. Next up at number 8 is a card I'm actually pretty surprised is on this list. Maybe this is a bit of a sleeper Pokemon, but we're talking about the Steelix from Paradox Rift. Now this card kind of saw some sort of just boom sometime in May here, late May. It went up from about $12 to its all-time high of $26 in the course of like a week. Since then, it has backed off just north of $24. Now, like I said, I'm pretty surprised that this card is sitting at number 8 and is even on the top 10 list. It's a great card, but there are some amazing illustration rares out there. Here's a few cards on the screen that I think should deserve a spot on this list over Steelix. Now for number 7, we're going back to 151 with the Squirtle. The Squirtle is a great card. Obviously, it is a Generation 1 starter, a fan favorite Pokemon. It's sitting at $27 right now, just shy of its all-time high of $30. Just like Charmeleon, this card was about $12 on release, but has since been pretty consistent in that high 20s. I'm going to say it now, I still think 151 is going to get a big reprint for the holiday season or for Black Friday, similar to what we saw with Crown Zenith. If that happens, a lot of these 151 illustration rares are going to take significant hits to the value, but they'll recover over time. I think this card may leave the top 10, but will return in the long run. And just like Squirtle, we have another 151 starter in Charmander sitting at number 6. Now this card may be worth a little bit more than Squirtle at about $27.75, but unlike that card, it has not stayed nearly as steady since release. It hit an all-time high in its first month of $36 and has since slowly dropped. It leveled out for a little bit in that first maybe 3 to 4 months, but is now sitting right in the middle of the chart at $27. Now, getting into the top 5, we're going to start seeing a significant price difference. Some of these top illustration rares are worth way more than some of the special illustration rares, even in the sets that they're coming from. So to get right into number 5, we have the Raichu from Paldea Evolved. This card has seen insane price growth over the last few weeks. This is due to the booster box kind of blowing up in value. It's really the only Scarlet and Violet era booster box that has steadily increased in value since release. So right now, Raichu is sitting at $41.59, which is just shy of its all-time high of $43.67. Again, this card has been out for about a year and has been really consistent at around $20. Up until about a month or two ago, where it just blew up in value. I think this is one that may back off a bit. I know Paldea Evolved is a year old, but it's not safe from reprints. A lot of these Scarlet and Violet era cards are really volatile at the moment. They're so new and so fresh that you can't really safely invest in a card and expect it not to drop at some point. It is usual for Pokemon to short print the second set of a generation, just like they did with Rebel Clash, and we've seen the value of Rebel Clash. That set was garbage. It is probably the worst set from the Sword and Shield era, yet booster boxes are over $200. Again, Paldea Evolved is very new and could be printed whenever the Pokemon Center feels like it if these cards are in high demand with a low supply out there. Next up at number 4, we'll get into something fresh and something that I think will sustain at the price it's at. We're looking at the Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. Now this card is sitting just shy of $42, but it is down from its short-lived all-time high of $48. Now, of course, this Eevee is going to drop a bit. This set is so new, I don't see it sustaining 48 right now, but I think it'll pick up. As we've seen with all the Eeveelution alternate arts, there's heavy focus from collectors on Eevee and all of the Eeveelutions. I don't see this card ever really dipping below $30, especially with the pull rates of Twilight Masquerade. This is going to be an interesting set to look at because Pokemon is still kind of dialing the pull rates, even though we're halfway through the Scarlet and Violet era. But I think what they're doing right now is smart. We can see in Twilight Masquerade that a lot of the singles are worth more than the past sets like Temporal Forces or Paradox Rift. As more and more Twilight Masquerade gets opened up, I'm sure Eevee's going to drop, but I think it'll return to the price it's at, if not go above it, in 6 months to a year. Next up at number 3, we have another IR card from Paldea Evolved, and that is the Tyranitar. Similar to the Raichu, this card was steady at about $20 for pretty much its entire lifespan up until the beginning of April. Since then, this card has spiked up to a high of about $46 and just slightly backing off to today's price of just over $44. This is an awesome card, and I think this pose we're going to see with the next card as well. The ground shot of the big monstrous Pokemon is kind of something that a lot of people seem to be enjoying. Again, Paldea Evolved has a huge set. The chances of pulling an illustration rare is about 1 in 12 packs. You're going to get 3 in a booster box most likely. And with 36 illustration rares in that pool, it makes it really tough to pull one specific card. So this Tyranitar, I feel like $44 is a solid price. Again, it could back off if Paldea Evolved gets a reprint, but as of now, I think it's going to stay pretty steady between $40 and $50. Next up, number 2, we have one of the best cards from Paradox Rift, and that is the Groudon. Now, like I just mentioned with Tyranitar, it's a similar angle. You kind of have a low shot of Groudon looking monstrous in this crazy volcanic background. Now, immediately after Paradox Rift was released, we saw Groudon spike up to about $40. It then backed off to the mid-20s for about 3 or 4 months up until April. From there, we saw it pick back up to about 40, dip a little, and now spiking at its all-time high of $63. An amazing card. Groudon is an amazing Pokemon. I really hope we see an illustration rare of Kyogre and Rayquaza later down the line, so we can pair up the whole trio together. But $63, again, it's pretty tough to pull these illustration rares. There's so many to get, and with a 1 in 12 chance, it makes it pretty difficult to pull one. Now this Groudon, I think this is a temporary bubble with this almost $64 price. I feel like it's going to back off over the next few weeks. I don't see it popping up to $100, within the next few months. It could, but I personally don't think it's going to hit that number just yet. Now the biggest card, the number 1 illustration rare, the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. Everything I say still holds. This is an incredibly tough card to pull. You know, that 1 in 12 shot of pulling a card out of a pool of 36 illustration rares makes this one really tricky to get your hands on. It's been pretty steady at about $50, but over the last 6 months maybe, it's been slowly climbing, and as of recent, kind of just skyrocketed all the way up to $124. I think this card is following the hype of Giratina. It's the same artist and a very similar style. It's got that little Easter egg with the Gyarados in the background that a lot of people love. It's a nice little touch on this. But as of now, Magikarp is the king of illustration rares. Now, before we close off today's video, I wanted to talk about a trend we just saw in this top 10 list. Not every card on this list was an original 151 Pokemon, but 7 out of the 10 were. This is something to keep an eye on, and I think is going to be a smart move going forward. If you're looking to pinpoint some of the high value illustration rare or special illustration rare cards, you want to focus on fan favorite Pokemon. That goes with basically anything from the Kanto region. Cards like Tyranitar and Groudon, just badass Pokemon. Steelix, I'm sure there's Steelix fans out there. I'm still a little puzzled by this one, but it is an incredible piece of art. So if you're looking to try to figure out what the best next investment is in terms of singles, make sure you're focusing on Pokemon that a lot of people love and a lot of people want to collect. Going for those fan favorites is a no-brainer. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you made it this far and you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that button. We're super close to 1,600 subs on that road to 2K. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.